Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the EPRL Axe Cup Series, a brand new series coming at you here for the EPRL. We are here at the Talladega Super Speedway, where today we are going to be having a 17-lap race, and here it is. Just kidding. I thought we were going to get the command there. Okay, so we're just going to pause this here. We got 17 laps on our hands here today at the Talladega Super Speedway. The Talladega 500, basically the Daytona 500 of the Axe Cup Series. We got 10 drivers in the field today. One driver missed the show, and that was the 20 of Jason Taylor. One driver is going to be missing the race every single week, so that could definitely be a big factor at the end of the season when we decide a champion, because the championship leader could very well miss the race or something like that. So, before we go racing, we should go through your starting lineup for today's race. On the pole is Jacob Hayes, driving the number 17 DeWalt Ford. On the outside of him will be Austin Ogo. Starting third is Marshall Rich. Fourth is Stephen Pollard the third. Fourth will be Max Skinner, who is actually a past Bass Pro Shops Cup Series driver trying to get his career back. Starting sixth is Eric C. Ray. Starting seventh is Kailash Smit. I'm trying to pronounce it as good as I can. But yeah, starting eighth will be, starting eighth is Eric Rage, and ninth is Daniel Smith, and running at your top 10, Matthew Faust in the Lucas Oil Chevrolet. So 10 drivers, 17 laps. Let's get these cars rolling off. Here we go. So like I said, 10 drivers are going to be competing in this series for each race, but 11 drivers are going to be going for the championship. Now, just because Jason Taylor missed this race, that doesn't mean by any stretch of the imagination that he's done for the championship. You can miss a race and be okay, because chances are there's going to be, I wouldn't be surprised if there's 6 other drivers that are going to miss races throughout the season. There might only be 2, 3, maybe 4 drivers by the end of the season that have been in every race. So it'll be interesting to see if these drivers, or which drivers are going to be able to consistently make the show here for this Axe Cup Series. And before we go green on the first race of the season, this series, basically the champion of each season gets a reserved ride for the Bass Pro Shops Cup Series season number 9. So Jacob Hayes right now is on the pole, like I said. So we could have any of these drivers in the field be a competitor in season 9, and don't count out Jason Taylor because he missed the field. But like I mentioned before, we could have almost every driver in this field. Actually, technically, we could have every single driver in this field miss one race this season, because we got 15 races. So chances are most of these drivers, like I mentioned before, will miss a show. And coming out of turn number 4, they're going to come down and receive the green flag for 17 laps of racing. What will we see? I believe we're going to be seeing the 2-car tandems here in this race. That's just my guess. I'm pretty sure we're going to be seeing those. We saw a lot of them in practice, and these guys were actually able to do very well with them. They didn't wreck each other very often. We saw a few spin-outs and stuff, but for the most part, they were able to control cars nose to tail, pushing each other at high speeds. And here we go, going in through the tri-oval. Jacob Hayes on the pole is going to lead him down, and the Axe Cup Series is green. We're racing for the Talladega 500. Oh boy, Austin Ogo on the outside gets clipped. Take it easy, boys. Lap 1, turn 1, nearly a big stack up as Stephen Pollard III nearly turned the 11 car around. Now Marshall Rich is going to go to the inside. Oh, once again, Austin Ogo making contact with Stephen Pollard. I don't think those two are getting along very well here on the first lap of this race and series. There's DEI teammates working together there in the 8 and 15, but out in front is Marshall Rich with the assistance of Max Skinner in the number 2. And Marshall Rich in the number 48 is going to lead the first lap of this race. And now Kailash Smit in the number 8 car is going to pass his Hendrick, or no, sorry, he's not Hendrick, but he's going to pass the 48 on the inside. The inside line has a huge run here coming to the back stretch. Now, something strange that we saw in practice was a crash at the exit of the back, or at the end of the back straightaway. If you can remember in the Bass Pro Shops Cup Series, if you were able to tune into that race back in Season 2, we had a race at Talladega. There was contact at the end of the straightaway, and it was a huge wreck. That was a really big wreck. I believe Sean Galligan was the first car around in that one. But we usually don't see crashes just on a straightaway here at Talladega. So as they cross the start-finish line to complete lap 2, drivers are getting a little bit, impatient, it looked like there. They were trying to do some 3-wide racing, and they were pushing each other here. This entire inside line is just nose-to-tail tandem racing. Ooh, Max Skinner had a big run with Austin Ogo. They didn't continue that. They had to split up, and now on the outside, Stephen Pollard III, which, as strange as it sounds, the outside line can actually get a really big run. It seems like if you're just one lane up, you really don't have that much of an advantage. But we actually saw some of the fastest times in practice come from running just one lane off of the bottom. And like I said, that's strange because usually these drivers are right down there on the yellow line here at Talladega Superspeedway. And they have lined up just nose to tail. Eric Rage, Austin Ogo, and Max Skinner trying to get clear, but now they're going to go side by side for position. Stephen Pollard III, and then in the back, Marshall Rich, simply trying to hang on to this lead draft because he's not really committed to either line. Looks like he's going to be on the inside now, and he's going to blend right in with the pack there. But he was actually getting hung out to dry a little bit there. For a little period of time, but I think he's going to be okay. Now the 24 ducks out, reports that he is running hot. Not pushing water, so it can't be that bad, but apparently Eric Ray isn't comfortable with the temperatures that 24 car is running. Eric C. Ray and Eric Rage. I hope you don't confuse those two drivers throughout the season. Eric Rage in the 29, Eric C. Ray in the 24. So just remember that. But Daniel Smith now goes to the point, and on the inside, here comes Kailash Smit, or Kailash Smith. I'm really not sure how to pronounce it. Kailash Smit in the number 8 car is going to be getting a big push from Marshall Rich and Jacob Hayes, and Jacob is going to come out of line, and he's going to go for second. The way these guys are racing back here is starting to get me a little bit nervous. We're approaching the halfway point onto lap 6 out of 17, and they're just... It seems like the racing is just getting a little more intense. Oh, Max Skinner, remember these two weren't getting along earlier, and there's contact again. And actually, I just realized it was Stephen Pollard III and Austin Ogo that weren't getting along earlier. I just realized that just after that call. But anyways, now it looks like we may have a new leader on the outside. Jacob Hayes trying to get the lead away from Kailash Smit. Uh-oh. 29-15. They gave each other just enough room, but they're not giving each other any more room than they need. They're not willing to. There's Matthew Faust in the back of the pack in Lucas Oil Chevrolet. And Eric C. Ray, his car, I don't know if it's even handling well. It might not be so much of a problem of overheating. That car might just not really run that well once he gets on that outside. Going to go down to the bottom, but Marshall Rich, his teammate, is showing that it's not a Hendrick engine. He has found his way to the front, and he's had a really strong car through the first 7 laps. Through the first 7 laps, we haven't had a caution yet, but I wouldn't count one out in the second half of this race. Once we cross the stripe, we will be just shy of halfway. We'll be on lap 8 out of 17, and now Matthew Faust. Oh, there's trouble! And it's Max Skinner around, and now he hits the 8 car. And the caution is out. And these drivers will not be racing back to the start-finish line. The caution is out. And the caution literally came out like the second he got turned, I think, because they were right at the start-finish line when it happened. So they will not have them race back to the start-finish line. So let's go back and see what happened. Alright, so here it is. Stephen Pollard III not making any friends out there. Remember earlier in the race, he and Austin Ogo had a run-in. Now he turns Kailash Smit into Max Skinner. And wow, Kailash did an incredible job saving it along with the number 2 car of Max Skinner. And I don't know if that was retaliation when he hit him, because it wasn't the 8 car that turned him around. I think that car was just out of control. He really didn't have any handling on it. So I don't think that's any sort of a rivalry that's going to start here early, but I think that a rivalry that we may see go through the season a little bit would be Stephen Pollard and Austin Ogo. Those two got into each other just on the first lap a few times, so that could be interesting to see how the rest of the season is going to play out after a few early spins here at Talladega and some drivers that might not be so happy after the 17-lap race. Back to the leaders where, whoa, wait. We almost had a little bit of spin there under caution. Austin Ogo getting almost spun out by Jacob Hayes. So Austin Ogo kind of getting beat up on here today. But Matthew Faust is out in front of the field, and when we get the restart, we'll probably be right around lap, I'd say 13 out of 17, so we might have a little bit of a sprint to the finish here. So let's get you back to the green flag. Indeed, it is going to be a restart on lap 13 out of 17. We will have 5 laps of racing to go, and hopefully we can stay green for all 5 of those laps here at the Talladega Super Speedway. Out in front is Matthew Faust, second is Marshall Rich, third is Austin Ogo, fourth is Jacob Hayes, and rounding out the top 5 is Daniel Smith. Sixth is Kailash Smit, seventh is Max Skinner, eighth is Eric C. Ray, ninth is Stephen Pollard, the third, and 10th is Eric Rage. And like I mentioned just a few moments ago, we have 5 laps of racing to go once they come here into the tri-oval to the start-finish line, and we will get you under the green flag once again. So we ran 7 laps just fine, no wrecks. Actually, we ran 4 laps, I should say, because I think they wrecked on the... I think they ran 6 laps, and then they wrecked on lap 7, so... we'll see if these drivers are able to keep it together for 5 laps, but the thing is, with 5 laps to go, intensity is going to be picking up, and these drivers are going to be going a lot harder than they were that first run. So let's see how this all goes. Let's see how this goes. Here at the Talladega Super Speedway, the pace car is off. Matthew Faust, Marshall Rich, and Austin Ogo, the front 3, leading them into the tri-oval, just mere moments away from this restart. Fans on their feet, they're anticipating the restart. And here we go. Flagman has the green flag in hand, and he's waving it. Green flag back in the air. 5 laps to go in the Talladega 500. Look at them already, double wide back there. They're wasting no time trying to make up valuable positions. But meanwhile, out in front, Matthew Faust and Marshall Rich are pushing each other. They're trying to get away from the pack, and you can't blame them. But I don't think they're going to be able to break away that well. Oh, that's the exact same thing we saw in practice. Marshall Rich and Matthew Faust almost reenacted it there by getting turned on the end of the back straightaway, and they almost did that, and it allowed Austin Ogo and Jacob Hayes to close right up on these guys. Now it's a 3-car breakaway at the front of the pack, actually a 4-car breakaway, as Austin Ogo is going to get run way up the racetrack with Jacob Hayes. Remember, these two made contact under caution, and obviously I'm assuming that Jacob Hayes has apologized for that. Didn't mean to do it, because they've been working together really well there on the first lap of the restart, but now Jacob is going to leave the 11 car out to dry, and Matthew Faust looks like he may have one of the better cars in this race. It's his second green flag lap led, but he has been able to find his way to the front from the back. Back here, it looks like the competitive cars are up through 6th, I believe. Yeah, Stephen Pollard, the third, crossed the line last time in 6th, and it's a 6-car breakaway up here. Is meanwhile Eric C. Ray and Eric Rage and Daniel Smith and Kailash Smit are back there as well. But they crossed the line, 3 laps to go. Marshall Rich out in front of the field. Oh, but Stephen Pollard III is just all over the back bumper of the 48. And Stephen Pollard III and Austin Ogo have found each other late in the race. I think they're going to play nice. They don't want to wreck each other at 200+ miles an hour. But Stephen Pollard III, he had a lane low, but the 48 just had such a run there. Marshall Rich was able to slam the door on him. Max Skinner is there, Jacob Hayes is there, and they're all lining up. And look at this, Eric Rage and Eric C. Ray have caught the lead pack. Apparently these drivers up here were doing too much battling, and they have been caught by those other 2 drivers that were a reasonable distance out of the lead pack for them to actually catch back up. That was pretty impressive. But now with 2 laps to go, it's an 8-car runaway at the front of the field. And it is being led by Marshall Rich, and the single file line of 6 cars is now going to end up being 3-4 wide at the exit of the straightaway. Look out, boys, don't wreck now. Because if they wreck now, they're racing it back to the white flag, which is basically going to be the checker. Well, that's if the caution comes out. Whoa, Stephen Pollard III had to block the 29, who had a huge run coming through the corner, and this time they face the white flag. 1 lap to go in the inaugural Axe Cup Series. This is the one everybody's going to be talking about for the rest of the series future, so this is a big race, and everybody wants to win it. And there's nearly contact between the 48 and the 10, Stephen Pollard III and Marshall Rich, but up front, Eric C. Ray and Matthew Faust have been able to run away. They're trying to tandem draft their way out in front of the pack, and they've done a pretty good job of it. But I still think Austin Ogo is close enough that he can make a move. Eric C. Ray to the inside of Matthew Faust in turn number 4. But don't count out Austin Ogo. He could still try to go to the inside, entering the tri-oval. He's got to make the move right now, and he's doing it. Austin Ogo to the inside of Eric C. Ray. We're in for a finish here, folks. Here they come. Austin Ogo is going to edge out the 24, and he wins the Daytona 500, and I meant to say the Talladega 500. Woo! What a finish. Blooper on my part. I realized about halfway through the word, I'm like, that's not the right race, but Austin Ogo, either way, wins the Talladega 500. What a finish to this race. And that was impressive. We got to see the margin of victory there, but that was a great job up there by Austin Ogo. Did a really good job of timing that move out and being able to get around Eric C. Ray, who is back there. Ended up finishing 2nd. A great finish to a great race to kick off the Axe Cup Series. Let's get a look at the results. Alright, just 10 drivers, and all 10 of them finished this race, so that was very impressive that every driver that started this race was able to finish, even though we did have a pretty big wreck. Austin Ogo is the winner, Eric C. Ray is 2nd, 3rd is Jacob Hayes, 4th is Matthew Faust, and 5th is Stephen Pollard III. Then you had Marshall Rich, Max Skinner, Eric Rage, Daniel Smith, and Kailash Smit. And I believe there's supposed to be an H there. I asked him, but I haven't gotten a response yet, so if it is Smit, then that will be his, that's how I'll pronounce it for the rest of the season. But I believe it's Smith there in the number 8 car. He was involved in the crash at the start-finish line at the end of lap number 7. So Austin Ogo barely edges out Eric C. Ray in the Talladega 500 here to start off the Axe Cup Series. So congratulations to the 11 team, and we will see you in one race at Michigan.